Have you ever worked in a big company where everything just feels chaotic? Different teams, different projects, different systems, and it seems like they're all pulling in opposite directions? Well, that's the exact problem we're going to deconstruct today. So, the big question is, how do you fix that? How do you get every single piece of a huge organization, from the high-level business strategy all the way down to the physical servers, to actually line up and move together as one? The answer isn't some super complex academic theory. It's actually way more practical than that. It's all about creating a common language, a shared way of seeing things, so that everybody, and I mean everybody, is on the same page. And that, right there, is what a framework called TOGAF is all about. Now, don't think of it as just a bunch of boring documents. Think of it more like a Mac for your thinking. It's a system designed to take all that chaos and turn it into a clear, manageable structure where you can actually turn a vision into something real. Okay, so let's get into how this actually works. We're going to dive into the engine of TOGAF, which is called the Architecture Development Method, or the ADM for short. This is our roadmap for that journey from total chaos to crystal clarity. So here it is. This cycle is the absolute heart of the framework. Now, I know it might look a little intimidating at first glance, but it's really just a logical step-by-step process. Each one of these phases asks a really specific set of questions and gives us the tools we need to answer them. Let's walk through the most important stages. First things first, before you can even think about building anything, you have to agree on the rules of the game. In TOGAF, this is what we call the preliminary phase. The question this phase makes us answer is so important. What does a good solution even look like for us? What are the core principles that are going to guide every single decision we make from this point on? We have to define what's okay, what's not, and what our standards are going to be. And this really just says it all, doesn't it? If you don't define your principles up front, all of your huge, expensive decisions are basically just a coin toss. This first step is all about replacing chance with deliberate intention. All right, now that we have our rules, we can actually start building. We kick things off with the big vision, which is phase A, and then we immediately ground that vision in reality with the business blueprint in phase B. Think of this as a 1-2 punch. First, we go high level. What's the big picture? What's the ultimate goal we're trying to hit? And then, right after we establish that, we get super practical and ask, okay, that's great, but what are the actual day-to-day processes that make our business run right now? So you see, in these phases, we're not just dreaming, we're getting specific. We're identifying every single person who has a stake in this. We're sketching out a rough concept of the solution, and then, and this is so critical, we meticulously map out the real-world business units, the jobs people actually do, and the core services that make everything tick. And what's really cool is how we make this stuff tangible. An artifact like this, an actor/role matrix, isn't just a chart on a wall. It's a tool for absolute clarity. It shows exactly who is responsible for doing what. It translates that high-level vision directly into real-world accountability. And this brings us to a piece of wisdom that is just fundamental. You can't effectively automate or change something that you don't truly understand. This phase forces you to map out and really get the business first, before you even start thinking about building new systems. Okay, so we have a rock-solid blueprint of the business. Now we can finally start designing the systems that will actually run it. This brings us to phase C, where we're laser-focused on information systems. That means both data and applications. So the questions get a bit more technical here, but you'll see they flow directly from that business understanding. We have to ask, what is the critical information, the data, that this business absolutely depends on? And then, what specific applications are we going to use to manage that data and support those business processes? And again, we use these incredibly practical tools to find the answers. A matrix like this one is so powerful. It maps every single application directly to the business function it's supposed to support. All of a sudden, you can see where you have 5 different apps doing the exact same thing, or worse, where you have a critical business need with no system supporting it at all. It just shines a light on waste and risk. And the guiding idea through this whole phase is simple but profound. We are not just mapping out database tables here. We are designing how the entire company manages one of its most valuable assets, its data. We have to figure out where it comes from, where it lives, and how it gets used across the whole enterprise. So, we've designed the business, the data, and the apps. Now it's finally time to build the foundation that everything is going to sit on. This is phase D, the technology architecture. Here, we're asking about the tangible stuff, right? The hardware and software that everything else depends on. What servers do we need? How should the network be laid out? What operating systems and platforms are going to form the bedrock of our entire IT landscape? And a diagram like this one is absolutely vital. It shows how all those physical parts, the servers, the networks, all of it, connect and work together to deliver a service to an actual person. The goal isn't just to draw a picture of the tech. It's to make damn sure that the foundation we're building is stable, secure, and can grow with the business. So we've gone through all these layers, from abstract principles all the way down to physical servers. So what's the real point of all this? What's the core value that an architect using this process actually brings to the table? And here it is. This is probably the most important takeaway of this whole thing. The real value of TOGAF isn't about how many diagrams you can create. It's about the quality of the tough strategic questions that this process forces the entire organization to confront and answer together. It's really a strategic lens. It takes overwhelming complexity and turns it into models you can actually understand. It takes organizational chaos and channels it into clear, well-thought-out decisions. And maybe most important of all, it gives you a traceable path from a high-level vision all the way to a finished project that works. And this is the philosophy to end on. So often, people make business decisions in a vacuum and then ask architects to draw some pictures to justify it later. The real goal is to build a clear, logical architecture first, and then let that architecture guide you to the right decision. If you want to be a professional at building enterprises, then a deep understanding of a framework like TOGAF, well, it isn't really an option, it's the foundation.